everybody. Welcome to Mayor Elizabeth Jones's Friday Hour.
Yes.
Yeah, this is my guest star, Kaye Lazar.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
The guest star, Kaye Lazar. I like the sound of that.
Yes.
Let me, I've never been introduced that way. Thank you.
Yes.
That's how I'm going to introduce myself on every show now.
Absolutely.
Welcome to the, today is the kite flying championships. I hope, I'm glad, people always wonder if I wear a wig. Well, today you'll figure out.
Yeah.
It's still stuck on my head, so.
Windy day today, so.
The joke is that if you, I think David Letterman, they once asked him if he wore a wig, and he said if I wore a wig, it would look a lot better than this. So anyway, and we've been doing this show a few times. I think this is like the third time we've done it in this at this river here.
Yeah.
And today we actually have a really good shot of it. Usually we're compromised and we try to get the best shot we can. But today it's wonderful back here.
Yes.
Yeah,
the water is beautiful. It looks like a beach.
Yeah, it looks like a beach.
Yeah.
Looks like the ocean.
Yeah.
It's still too cold to still go swimming. But we'll work it out.
Yeah.
And but it'll come soon enough. Probably another month and a half or so. We'll all be swimming again.
I know. So, I can't wait.
At the beach and everything. Let's see. So I was yes. So you had a good week.
Oh yeah. How about yourself?
The wind is so breezy right now. I hope people can hear us.
Yeah.
I think we're probably fine with that.
I hope so
But remember that you remember the tornado a couple years ago? I got stuck in.
Yeah.
You know there was a tornado this week again.
Oh yeah.
But I was far away from it.
2 days ago.
Yeah.
So,
I was far away from it.
Ours wasn't that bad. It was just wind and all that, and rain. But that was about it. So.
When I was a kid, I didn't know the difference between tornadoes and hurricanes.
Yeah.
And I just heard this week that a lot of tornadoes, like in Tornado Alley, out in Kansas, and places like that, are caused by hurricanes.
Right.
The hurricane starts, and hurricanes are strange because they're really bad, like in Florida and stuff.
Right.
And they're really bad out in the sea. And by the time they come to like the coastline, they kind of run out of gas. But a lot of them don't run out of gas. And that's when they get bad.
Exactly.
As soon as they pick up some speed, some go all the way to New York or Boston or somewhere. But they usually just stay localized on the west. Because knowing my insurance, it's very hard to insure.
Yeah.
What is it? 100 miles from the coast because of hurricanes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You almost have to buy your insurance from the government.
Yeah.
They call it welfare for the rich because they usually people get mad. Why do we have to pay for those people? They're fool enough to have a house on the beach.
Yeah.
I would think if I had a house on the beach, I'd have nothing but headaches.
Right. Yeah.
You have a house anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I like the viewing of it. Like when you get up and have a cup of coffee, just like enjoy the view and all that good stuff. So.
You can do that.
Yeah.
You can but I'm getting to the point now that when I want to go to enjoy a big city, I prefer just to take a bus ride, spend the day there, and then go home.
Right.
If I lived in a big city like New York or something, the headaches of all that.
Yeah.
I know one thing. I know people say, "Oh, I'd love to live in a mansion. I'd love to live in a mansion." But you know what I found out about people who live in mansions?
What?
They have to drive like 50 miles out of town just to live in their mansion.
Oh wow.
So unless you really are a homebody, you don't want to live in a mansion.
Yeah.
I mean, there's very few mansions in the middle of Times Square.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Where you really want to be.
Yeah.
Might as well just go to Times Square.
Yeah.
And then once you're finished with Times Square, once you get your picture taken with Elmo or the Statue of Liberty or the Naked Cowboy.
Yeah.
But I heard that recently there was a cold snap in New York City, and the Naked Cowboy couldn't show up in Times Square. You know why?
Why?
The excuse he gave because it was so cold was shrinkage.
Oh.
You just got out of the cold beach and the cold water.
Yeah.
Anyway, So so anyway, so I would think like living, I love like apartment living. I love living with lots of people. I mean, I like being alone and then there's everybody there. But tell me about, my place doesn't allow a dog, but you own a dog.
I do, yes.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your dog.
My dog's name is Palmer, and
And he's a collie.
he's a Pomeranian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
Oh, Palmer, the Pomeranian.
yeah,
Oh, that
yeah,
makes all the sense in the world.
yeah. He'll be he'll be 2 years old next month on May 4th.
2 years old.
That's yeah, because my birthday's a couple weeks after his.
Yeah.
So, but he'll be 2 on May 4th. So.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I know you remember him when he was a puppy. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now he's as big as a German Shepherd now.
Just about, but he's still at the same size. But
Okay.
they don't actually grow too much. But
I like him more. I like anything that doesn't get big.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
He's really friendly.
Yeah.
He's really hyper.
He is a friendly dog.
Yeah, he loved you when you came to my house
Of course.
a few times.
But to me, I'm kind of scared of dogs. Not Pomeranians or poodles or stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm scared of like German Shepherds and Dobermans. And when I was a kid, I was always getting chased by them and bit by them, and the kids would laugh, and I hated that.
Oh wow.
And I'd hate and whenever I never owned a dog, and whenever I anytime I wanted a dog, my mother would say, "Are you going to clean up after the dog? Are you going to take care of the dog? Are you going to make sure he's fed?" I don't want to be stuck doing that. And so, when it really came down to it, I didn't want. Then now I'm all grown up and I can own a pet, but the way I live is that I can't even take care of a house plant.
Yeah.
So dogs and cats are, I just go to other people's houses and pet them.
Yeah. My dad helps me take care of the dog.
Yeah.
That's no problem with that.
What type of dog food does Palmer eat?
He likes the moist and meaty.
Moist and meaty.
It's like the meat and cheese food, and he loves it. He's like,
There was a commercial I remember when I was a kid for Gravy Train.
Oh yeah.
And it was this dry dog food that you put the water in, and it creates a gravy.
Oh, I remember that.
And they would actually like show how tender the meat was, and they'd show how. And then I started to wonder, am I supposed to eat this or the dog? They tried to present the dog food as very delicious.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I don't want to eat dog food.
I know.
You know what the difference between dog? You know what the difference between cat food and like.
Cat food's a little small.
Well, I heard. I don't know if there's an urban legend, but there was a place like that made cat food and tuna, and they got the labels mismatched. The cats would eat the tuna, but not so much the people would eat the cat food.
Right,
If you mismatched the labels, the people believe it or not, there was no after they were recalled and everything. That it was very quiet how it was done.
Yeah.
That they did not the people were not alerted that they had missed this company. I don't know what it was, Starkist or something.
Yeah.
It was one of those companies that made both cat food and dog food, or chicken of the sea, or one of those. Or maybe it was just an off-brand.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't even in America, and nobody complained.
Oh.
And the difference is the cat food is not all that different from the regular tuna, but it's rotted.
Right.
In other words, I guess the idea that if you have fish on hand and it's raw and you can't serve it to people anymore, then you serve it to your cat.
Right. Makes sense. Yeah.
But when I was a kid, you go to people's houses and you see them have the can of Alpo or something. So I wonder I wonder if that's good for you. And then somebody said, no, it's not good for you because
it's dog food.
Well, I mean, it's not typical meat.
Yeah.
It's meat that's either gone bad, or it's a lot of this. Believe it or not, I think I don't know about now, but a lot of it was from horses and stuff.
Oh God.
And horse meat is illegal in America. It used to be legal, but and a lot of people thought that these wild Mustangs that were caught out west would be captured and killed for dog food for a bunch of mangy dogs, canines. But I remember there was this one kid that would eat almost anything when I was a kid, and he would eat dog food.
Ew.
He didn't eat a lot of it. He would take a piece of it and so,
Yeah.
look what I could do. He was
Yeah.
sort of like a like a Jackass or
Yeah.
Survivor
Yeah.
or Fear
Yeah,
Factor.
yeah. I remember my mom told me when she used to work at a sub place for a bracelet called Stuffies.
Yes.
And she had one of her coworkers.
Still around.
Yeah, I think so. One of her coworkers, I think, was surviving on dog food.
Ooh.
I was like, ew.
Not Stuffy's food.
No,
What if they got it mixed up one day?
I think if some people are really like poor or something, I guess they have to survive somehow. But it's even though it's nasty. I wouldn't want to do it. So.
You know, let me tell you something. When you're starving, you will eat almost anything, and you will eat raw bugs and stuff like that in the wild. And I mean, people have actually, that were like shipwrecked and stuff, survived on that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I would rather just starve them.
You'd rather starve. Well, let me tell you, there was okay. I'll give you a good example. I was stuck in Europe once.
Yeah.
First time I was in Europe, and I had my wallet stolen at a hotel, and I was down. It wasn't a lot of money, but it was the last bit of like the last $20 I had, or 20 pounds or whatever. It was the equivalent of $20. Luckily, I had like about $5 in my sock.
Wow.
And I'm not kidding how this worked. I got on a ferry, I had a Eurail pass, so I didn't really need it, but I didn't have any money for food for 3 days. And then I got to Ireland, where I was living. Got on a train in Ireland. I had to pay duties, little like fees to get the docking fees and stuff and something. And when you're down to your last $5 or something, that you count it. Oh, it's $3. Oh gosh, I only have $2 left. And it got to the point where I was down to my last dollar. Like, it got me on a bus to my uncle's house, and then I got food for the first time in 3 days. Now, probably in the second day, I was on a ferry, not a cruise ship. It was a ferry, so you had to buy your own food on this stuff. And somebody had eaten sandwich in the garbage. And I'm not kidding you. I did not eat it, but I looked at it for a long time. I'm very hungry, and you will eat. If you are hungry, you will. Looking back, I probably should have eaten it. I probably should have just eaten around the bite mark. Eat the part of the pizza that didn't.
Right.
But so you will eat. You will if you're hungry enough. People have known to eat each other. That's the old story. If you're hungry enough.
There was a movie actually about that sort of thing, and there was a movie about these a lot of people got killed in a plane crash.
Oh, in the Andes.
I forgot what it was called.
It's called Alive.
Oh, that's right.
And it had, I think, Ethan Hawke or something.
Yeah, and then like every time.
Or Survive. Alive, it was called. Yeah.
Yeah, like
There's a few movies.
There was a couple.
It was a soccer team, I think, in the Andes, and they had and they did, and the ones that lived did survive.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a lot of them they didn't like kill somebody to eat. They just ate who was there, who was already dead.
Yeah, I know. And it was a couple scenes. They had birthdays, and every time they had birthdays, instead of a birthday cake, they would take like a piece of a body and put the candle in it, and they were all passing out happy birthday. Remember that scene?
That I actually wanted something. I think I blocked most of that movie out.
Oh. Well, I saw the whole thing, and that really happened.
Yeah. Well, there was a famous, the Donner Party that was on the Conestoga wagons on the way out west. It's even mentioned briefly in The Shining.
Yeah.
At the beginning of The Shining, when Jack Nicholson is driving, he goes, "Why we? What's that? It's called the Donner Pass."
Yeah, it was that particular movie happened in the early 1970s.
Yes.
So it happened in 1972, I think.
Yes, but you know what there's always talk about if you're on a lifeboat, how you're going to survive on a lifeboat and everything. I remember watching a movie about Mutiny on the Bounty. There's a lot of versions of it, really good versions, with Clark Gable and the one with Marlon Brando. But there's one with Anthony Hopkins and Mel Gibson and Captain Bligh and his men, which includes I think Liam Neeson and Daniel Day-Lewis. Before they were famous on the lifeboat, and one guy says, if I don't survive this lifeboat trip, they're on there like for a month at this point. And it says you're all welcome to eat me. And then Captain Bligh says, he goes, if we die as civilized men. We don't die as savages. Right. And they did survive without eating the guy. So and I think it does. They claim even animals that are cannibalistic, that it affects them. There's certain animals like crocodiles will do it. Yeah. Almost all animals do it. They're hungry enough. This is very upsetting. I was once this kind of turned me off animals altogether when I was worked in a pet store or the pet department of a store. You worked at a pet store? Well, this is the thing. When I was 16, I worked in a department store. And they had a pet department. They said, well, where do you want to work? And I said, well, I like animals. I can work in the pet shop. And guess what? It was all you're basically doing is cleaning out cages and fishing out dead fish, cleaning fish tanks. Cleaning fish tanks is very hard because it's very hard to pick up filled with very nasty water and dump it, and then to keep the rocks and all those bubble things and everything. It's really, gosh. And I had that job when I was 16, and I almost immediately, within a week, I asked to be transferred anywhere but the pet department. But one time I saw all these mice, white mice, which we sold, and they all ganged up on the smallest mouse and ate him. And I couldn't. They did it right in front of me. They tore him apart, and then I was told, "Get that mouse out of there! Get that!" The animals are going crazy. And then they did it to another mouse, and I said, "Oh, we got to do something." I don't know what we did. I actually called the pet department guy. I said, "You know how to deal with this. I don't know how to deal with mice that are going crazy in the cage." I think I told you there was a. Did I tell you the story about the birds at the bird department, the pet department? There was I tell this. It's not a nice story. It's one of the worst stories I've ever told. There was this one guy who was terrible at getting birds out of the cage into a box to sell to people. Okay, so parrots, parakeets, and stuff like that. We had, I think they were finches, which is a little bird, not a parrot. They look a little like a sparrow or something. And so this guy was terrible. You would put this. What you did was, and I figured out how to do it. I was actually good at this. You put on this heavy glove, and you stuck your hand in the cage, and they're all flying around. There's like 5 of them, and you just grab one of them. Some of the zoo workers have well, those are for I know what you're talking. Those are for falconers. This is just a glove that you would wear for a work glove or something. So you grab it, and then you have the bird. You finally get a bird. And then you have this box, one of those it's almost like a Chinese. Chinese. Yeah, but it was a little bigger. It was a little bigger than those Chinese restaurant boxes that you would put rice in or something. Yeah. So you stick, and then you had either somebody else or you use your other hand, usually your right hand. You had your left hand. You had the glove, and you put the bird in there, and you just closed it on top the fold box. Now, this was the hard part: was getting it into the box, getting your hand in the box, then kind of excavating your. This guy always, every time he did it, the bird would fly out. Oh, wow. And once the bird flies out of the cage, it's all over the department store. Right. So they always call on me. Usually, I was called when it messed up the first time. I said, "Kevin, can you do this?" I said, "Yeah." And I was pretty good at doing this. Right. So the bird. So they said, "What about the?" And of course, that'll be, I don't know, it's like $10 in those days. Because what do we? Birds are very cheap in those days. So there's, what do we do? What about your other bird? Oh yeah, that bird will probably get tired and flying around and come on down. Right. Well, the place closed at 10 o'clock, and then usually the manager of the pet department would take a BB gun from the and shoot them down from usually up. We usually found them up. They usually once they flew up to the corner. I mean, granted they flew out, but they usually didn't fly out. They usually just flew to a corner in the department store. And I remember one day we didn't tell people this that we actually had to shoot them down after. We didn't do this in front of everybody. Shoot them, because the Humane Society would be on our case. So we shot the bird. There was one bird did not want to get shot, and there was like three of us with BB guns. We're almost like the Three Stooges with guns, trying to shoot down this bird. I never. To my credit, I never shot down a bird, but I did have the gun, and I think I pointed to it, but I didn't shoot it. There it is over there. Can you get it? I don't think I can get it. Yeah. So that kind of, I pretty much got all pet owning out of my system then. My mom was very like strict about what she wanted, what I could do, and pets were. I think I owned gerbils once. Someone gave us gerbils, two gerbils, and we had a bunch of gerbils. And another thing when you have gerbils or hamsters or something or mice, rodents, if you don't when the female gets pregnant, you got to get another cage for them. Because if you keep the male in that cage, the male will start eating the babies. And not because they're hungry, but because they're kind of jealous of they don't know a family. They're not geese or lobsters or penguins that mate for life. They're mice and rodents aren't.
I owned a guinea pig years ago.
We had a guinea pig, and that was probably the largest pet we ever had. And we had to keep him in a huge, like outdoor crate. Didn't have a top on it, but he was constantly always jumping over the wall of it. And I think 3 times I rescued him and brought him back. But then the 4th time he jumped over. He doesn't want to live with us. So I think he went to the woods. It was behind our house. He probably lives there to this day. That was about 40 years ago. And I'll tell you another funny story about the pet shop I worked at. It would be this woman that would come every week to buy a mouse. And so after about a few times she comes and she buys another mouse. And we said, "You must have quite the collection of mice at home." She goes, "I don't have any mice." He goes, "Why do you come here and buy a mouse?" She goes, "Oh, I have a snake, and I'm grocery shopping." Because the snake ate one mouse a week, or one mouse every week or so. So that was all you had to feed the snake with. So you put the mouse in there. It wasn't a pet shop. It was a food store for the snake.
I had some friends who owned snakes.
Yeah, and that's what they eat, right?
Yeah. But I wouldn't own a snake because they're pretty dangerous sometimes.
Well, I've seen people with snakes. I remember once holding like a python, and at first it's kind of fun to have a snake in your arms, but then it started constricting around my arm and getting tighter and tighter. And I finally had to tell the guy, "Get the snake off my arm, because he's going to cut off my circulation."
Yeah, because there was a lady, there's a show called Rescue 911 back in the day. This is a true story because they were just actors. This is a true story. There was a lady that owned a snake, and the snake was like wrapped around her arm, and she called 911 trying, for them to help her and everything.
Yeah.
That was awful.
Oh yeah. Especially if you have no. A lot of people buy snakes and they think they know snakes, but they don't. There are people that, and when I was a kid, I don't know if they still do this, but you could buy baby alligators in Florida and places like that and bring them back to, up north. And then they got a little too big and people were flushing them down the toilets. And then you heard of like New York or Boston, there'd be these sewers that had these huge alligators that weren't indigenous to New York. And what was wild about that was, of course, there's a movie called Alligator, I think it is. John Sayles, where I think that happens, and then I think the alligator starts swallowing like a steroid company was dumping in the sewers, so that so 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 the alligator was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then wreaking havoc. It's actually a pretty good movie. I think it's called Alligator. Yeah. I and John Sayles, who writes a lot of good stuff, wrote that. I think he wrote The Howling or something. And oh yeah, yeah. We'll talk about movies and what else? So my mom had a dog. She said a collie. I asked my dad once if he had any pets. He says, yeah, he had a dog once, and the dog was just kind of a mean dog.
Yeah.
It didn't. I mean, mean dog. It didn't get along with the rest of the family. So eventually, But I knew a kid that actually had a really mean dog. His father loved,
Wow.
and they kept it on a chain all day. And the kid was always afraid to walk by. That the dog would always bark at him and get at the end of the chain, which I think is actually cruel. Not. I think it's cruel for the dog to be on a chain all day long. You know. I saw you talk about movies. I saw a movie called Cujo.
Oh yeah.
Stephen
That was
King.
terrible.
Well, what was terrible about it was as far as a movie, a horror movie, it was expertly made and written. But then halfway through it, I realized I'm just watching a huge dog terrorize two people in a car the whole movie. I have better things to do with my entertainment and attention.
That lady who played on the house.
She was in both movies.
Also in Cool
Yeah, I guess she was good, and she was in E.T.
Oh yeah,
Give her a weird.
She's played on 3 movies I've seen.
She give her a. Give her something to a non-human adversary.
Yeah.
And it'll work. And let's see. Oh yeah. But I used to see people with pets, and they used to. I don't know. I was really scared of dogs. I think what happened was I was like 5 years old, and I went to my dad took me to a party. We were traveling, and he took me to a party, and they had these big dogs, and they saw me and just chased me all over the party, and everyone was laughing hysterically. My dad wasn't laughing. So I'm not kidding you. He picked me up. I'm just a little boy, and puts me high up on like a shelf almost at this crowded party, and gave me something I would never eat. I mean, that he would never let me like Coca-Cola or a bag of chocolate, and he said, "Here, just." And the dogs are still there, like nipping at my toes, and but they didn't get that high up. And my dad stuck with me the whole time, so I was very, very happy about that. I don't think my dad remembers that, but some things you never forget. You know, I was 5 years old. I also went to the World's Fair that on that same trip. It was a lot of fun. And I also went. You talk about how you know mothers and fathers are kind of protectful of kids. Uh, I don't know where I saw this, but a guy was driving a car and his kid was in his lap driving. So I thought I should sit in my dad's lap while he's driving, because you're not gonna sit in the lap. He goes, you're gonna sit in the back seat. I said, but I don't want to sit in the back seat. He goes, then you're gonna sit in the baby seat up front. And I was like 5 years old. I thought I was much too old for a baby seat.
Oh yeah.
But it's one of those arguments you're not gonna win. He goes, yeah, your cousin's gonna sit. It was an older woman. Sit in I think she was like 18 or something. She was gonna sit in the passenger seat. Dad was gonna be in the driver's seat, and I was gonna be in the baby seat. And I was so humiliated.
Yeah, that's embarrassing.
But I was actually pretty good when I was a kid. I got to sit in the passenger seat a lot, driving, because I always wore a seatbelt.
Oh wow.
And that seatbelt, saves your life. I mean, we were talking about a time when you didn't have to wear a seatbelt. Now it's a law that's a good law.
Yeah.
Now, your mother was kind of protective of you too.
Yeah. When every time I would go out with a friend or something, she'll be like, "I want to meet so and so."
Oh yeah.
So I think she was protective of me because I guess she didn't want me to hang out with the wrong friend.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I still do that.
Yeah.
I still hang out with the wrong people.
Yeah.
You know, there's some kids that'll always hang out with the wrong people. In fact,
Oh yeah.
if you send them to like a military school or something, or a religious school,
Yeah.
or a convent school or something,
Yeah.
they, if you think, oh, that'll, at least they're not near the delinquents at
Yeah.
the public school.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? They
What?
find the delinquents at the at the military school. Or
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
they meet the James Dean types there, and that's who they hang out with. And those kids are really cool because those kids, they have no parental supervision, so they get to, you know, drink sodas all day.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
get to ride mini bikes. All, you
Yeah.
know, their
Yeah.
parents don't. They get the, you know, and my mother and father were like very strict with
Oh
me.
yeah.
You know, I drive a Honda car,
Yeah.
but all my life, when I was growing up, I wanted a Honda motorcycle. So
Yeah.
you're not getting a Honda motorcycle. So
See,
now we compromise. I got a Honda car.
my dad wasn't as strict as my mom.
Yeah,
But my mom was more stricter than my dad was.
yeah,
So
yeah. I think my dad was. You're right. My mom was. My mom was like. Yeah, she was very strict.
yeah.
Actually, you know, we couldn't eat. And I think parents are getting that way again. They call them
Yeah.
helicopter parents.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say my. Yeah, my mother was definitely a helicopter parent before it was. I mean, my. In fact, I'll tell you something even weirder. My Whenever you talk about hung out with friends,
Yeah.
and sometimes, you know, some of my friends were real troubled kids.
Oh yeah.
One kid, I think I mentioned once before, wanted me to run away from home with him because I
Oh.
think he didn't want to be alone. He wanted a partner,
Yeah.
and he was always trying to convince me, you know, your parents don't deserve
Right.
a wonderful son like you and everything.
Right.
But uh, whenever my mom um, didn't like a particular kid, and the kid was just running wild and with no supervision, she'd always get mad. Oh, his mother just makes me sick. The way she, and I would say, his mother is not here. She's not. He's the one that's making all the mistakes,
Yeah.
shoplifting and stuff like that, drinking,
Yeah.
smoking cigarettes, drinking
Right.
beer and stuff like that.
Right.
And we're talking like 12-year-old boys.
Yeah.
She would say exactly. That's his mother is not there.
Yeah.
Because and then I have to be the bad guy by enforcing some discipline on you,
Right.
and you see this kid that's obviously a bad influence.
Yeah.
I was I remember on the radio somebody called me up and about being a bad influence, and then I became a good influence.
Yeah.
She goes, you know, I was on the radio, and some mother who said, you know, my son really loves your radio show, and I think you should give him some advice on the radio. I mean, on the phone.
Right.
And he'll listen to you if you
Oh.
tell me. And I said, okay, what do you want me to tell him? He goes, well, he has a hard time with his toys, and he doesn't share his toys with everybody. He tends to like hoard them himself and play with them, and he
Yeah.
seems to be happy doing that. And every time he shares them with people, he's always disappointed. And a lot of
Right.
times, kids will break his toys and stuff. But
Right.
I think he still should share his toys. I said, yeah, put on the phone, put him on the phone. This was
Yeah.
before speakerphones, so I
Yeah.
just got the kid by himself, and I said, you like my show? He goes, yeah. He goes, you enjoy my comedy and everything? He goes, oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
you're the greatest. And I said, well, you gonna listen to me if I give you some good advice? He goes, yeah. He goes, don't share your toys. I shared my toys. I sometimes saved money. I sometimes saved my allowance. I sometimes wished for toys from Santa Claus. I wanted these toys so bad. And then some brat would come and break them because I was told to share them. And the kid would just say, oh, well, how about that? And then go back to his home. And then I'd be stuck with a broken toy. And, you know, and then of course, the fault was with me because I was just a fool to share them. So I told the kid, don't share your toys.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I still don't.
Yeah.
But I still have my toys.
Right.
I
Yeah.
still have. I know people now. Toys are one thing, but like share their computer, share their car. Anytime you share your phone, Oh man, I remember when sharing my phone with somebody, some kid wanted to use my phone and he got so mad calling his mother. I thought he was going to throw it against the wall. I said, he almost did, and I grabbed it from him. I said, hey, it's not the movies where they get mad at somebody and throw a phone against the wall. So yeah. And that I don't have a whole lot. I'm not rich like all my friends are.
Yeah.
But I don't need a new phone.
I consider myself thrifty in a way because I have some records and sometimes I kind of consider me a hippie.
Do you ever go to thrift stores?
Sometimes, yes.
You ever when eBay came around, to me eBay was the greatest yard sale ever,
yeah.
and I bought everything I could within a 2 year time,
Yeah.
and then I never had to buy. I mean, I got it all out of my system. Now I don't want to. Now when I go to a thrift store, there's nothing I want because I got it all.
Right.
I got everything, and I don't really have a lot of nothing. And I'm not a really a money guy. I just whatever makes me happy.
Yeah.
I'd rather be. I like memories. I don't buy souvenirs when I go to in a big way when I go to travel and everything. So I I I kind of I don't need all that money, all those things anymore. Because when you move, you have to take all that stuff with you.
Yeah.
But thanks for having me on the first half of your show.
No problem, and